Roger is one of our most distinguished music alumni here. He's had a most varied career and most successful career.
He said, the important thing about university is that it gives you a chance to have a go. Golly, what a go the man has had.
He was the most engaging student. He was a very charming man, had a way of being very persuasive. He was a good worker. He was a very active, practical musician. He sang in the chapel choir, for instance, which won't surprise you coming from South Wales.
This is the Great Hall of the university, and Roger will know very well why I'm standing here. I think of this as the scene of Roger's finest achievement as a practical musician with us. There was an absolutely astonishing occasion in his last year, at the end of his undergraduate career, where he stood roughly where I'm standing now and delivered a performance of the Dvorak New World Symphony with the University Orchestra, which I can only describe as stonking. It's a good musical technical term, that. Roger had clearly got inside this piece. His repertoire of conducting gestures was fully professional, indeed better than many professional conductors actually have. His understanding of the music was deep. His communication with the orchestra, which is a social gift after all, was extraordinary, and he delivered a hugely inspiring performance. As I thought about it afterwards, and I think about it now, and it lives vividly in the memory, I have to tell you, it struck me that it was characteristic of Roger that he could get inside a task, understand all its aspects, and come forward with solutions which other people could hardly dream of.
Obviously he'd had a classical music education at Nottingham University, but he knew an enormous amount about pop music too, and he wanted to share that message about music with the widest possible audience. So he was incredibly successful at Radio 1. Interesting things seemed to happen wherever Roger went. He was at Capital Radio at a time when Capital was a highly successful music radio station. He was at Radio 1 when it had millions and millions of listeners, and when they had just begun with him the process of modernising the management of the station. He was very successful in the record industry, and then at Classic FM he won strings of awards for a station which took the music he was passionate about and brought it to an audience of millions of people.
Roger arrived at ITV Wales about six years ago now, I'd imagine. He came with a big reputation, having worked in London, Classic FM, all these top jobs he did. Because we were a regional company, we couldn't compete with the mites of the BBC, for example, with a lot more money. But one of the great things he did was he secured the rights to the Tom Jones coming back to Pontypridd concert, his hometown, the first time back there for 30 years. And through a manipulation of Roger's very good at talking to various record companies and his Classic FM experience, miraculously ITV Wales got the television rights. And that's all because of Roger and his negotiating skills.
Most people in Wales, they love music and they love rugby. And Roger is, in both of those respects, a very archetypal Welshman. Well, I've known Roger now for some 5 years, initially when he was head of ITV Wales. But after a relatively short period there, he moved on to what most people in Wales would consider to be the dream job, namely as Group Chief Executive of the Welsh Rugby Union and the boss of the Millennium Stadium.
We're in the inner bowl of Millennium Stadium, and we've got the biggest concert we've ever put on. Almost 70,000 people coming to watch U2, so the stage has been prepared behind us. I think the first thing that comes across is a fantastic work ethic and stilted attitude to his job. Works extremely long hours, puts tremendous effort in, very tenacious and obviously very, very ambitious for the union.
His tenure as head of the WRU has coincided with getting the debt back on a sustainable level, of getting the playing success up to a sustainable level, reflecting what people in Wales really want to see.
We were world champions at Sevens last year. It's the first time we've ever been world champions in rugby. And of course the season before that we were Grand Slam champions, champions of Europe. So we've had great success, and we've had a fantastic business success as well. So we're very happy with the way things are going forward, and it's in no small contribution to Roger and his team.
Rugby means so much to us in Wales that if the Welsh rugby team is not doing well, if the Welsh Rugby Union appears to be a shambles and incapable of leadership, then everybody's down. When the Welsh Rugby Union and the Welsh Rugby team is doing well, everybody in Wales feels 10 feet tall. That's what's happened really under Roger Lewis's stewardship.
It was apparent even in those early days that Roger had got leadership qualities.
He's a quick learner, Roger. He's a good manager and also a quick learner.
I think Roger's been a phenomenal success.
Half the battle of management is getting the message across to the people who you're managing, and no one was better.
One of his first words were, "The clouds will move away from the ITV World studios and I will bring in blue sky." So people think, what have you got here?
Incredible enthusiasm is the thing that I remember about Roger. Real passion.
He actually brought a lot of optimism to the company. He brought a lot of strength to the company, and his management skills really shone through.
He always has that extraordinarily charming smile and extraordinarily charming manner.
I became an instant hit off the field when I found him in the Beverly Hills Hotel playing the piano, a concerto, which was absolutely fantastic, and brought the house down in the hotel. So it brings a social element to it, which is vitally important in rugby. It's a very social game. We're a friendly bunch in Wales, and he's got those attributes as well.
Roger, llongyfarchiadau ganis iawn I chi. Warmest congratulations. What great achievement, what outstanding success you've had in these various fields of activity. I wish you all the very best for the future. I am very, very proud you were a student of ours.
Bore ddigion y bonodd y gesau, noswaith dda. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A diolch yn fawr iawn, Robert. Vice-Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I certainly was not expecting that, and it was a great surprise to receive my letter also in the post. I think it was my mother who nominated me. To receive this is truly a great honour, and to do so in the company of such illustrious alumni this evening is something very, very, very special indeed. To have my chairman and my good friend here, David Pickering, a former captain of Wales, chairman of the Welsh Rugby Union, chairman of the Six Nations, and on the executive board of the International Rugby Board. It's great that you're here, David. I really appreciate that. It was a great surprise. It's particularly special for me to have my son here, Tom Lewis. More of that later. Really, I should be presenting the university with an award this evening, because I do owe it one huge great debt of gratitude. I played this down tonight, and I did find this, to be honest with you, slightly embarrassing that I was receiving this. They're far more worthy than myself to receive this honour, and I had to be a little bit discreet tonight. Believe it or not, I was due to be in the High Court in London today for the start of a 3-day trial. I mentioned this to one of my colleagues this evening, and they were a bit shocked that I had been accused of some heinous crime. But it was a major negotiation that was taking place. If you read the back pages of the sports, in the sports section of the national newspapers, you'll see it today. But myself and David managed to resolve a 2-year dispute on Monday to avoid going to court today, and we resolved it very amicably, I hasten to add. We were due to be in the witness box tomorrow. I was instructed by my QC when I told him that we were heading up to Nottingham, most probably tonight, that he insisted there'd be no alcohol to be taken, and we'd have to get back there very late this evening. But I'm pleased to say we resolved all those matters on Monday, and for once, peace has broken out in Wales in professional rugby. Because there are certain other people I would love to have been present here this evening, but as I say, we had to be slightly discreet. And when I heard that David was coming, I thought, goodness me, I wish there were a couple of other people I could have mentioned to be here, and I thought it'd be a bit presumptuous of me to suggest that to the university. But to see two of my former teachers here, two professors here, it was such a wonderful surprise to see John Moorhen here and Robert Pascal. John and Robert, it's such a thrill that you're here this evening, and thank you so much for your kind words. I was not academically gifted here at Nottingham, and John and Robert can testify to that. However, though, as I say, there's a great debt I owe to the university, and it truly is a great debt, and it's something I've learnt over the years. And it's something I've learnt in business and certainly learnt recently in sport, and that's all about environment and culture. And the environment that was here when I was in Nottingham, and the culture that was created by the likes of John and Robert and Jenny and Dennis Arnold, who was the professor when I came in 1973, some 36 years ago. It was quite extraordinary. There were only 12 of us in our year. There were only 12 people in the whole of the year. I'm pleased that Alison is here this evening, who was with me those 36 years ago. Alison, you've not changed a bit in the 36 years. I recognised you as soon as I walked in. But the culture that was created here was something quite extraordinary. We lived and worked and played together. We hung out, in the music department until they chucked us out at 10:30 at night. And we spent all of our time making music. It was quite extraordinary. I didn't spend too much time in lectures or with my seminars, but I certainly made lots and lots and lots of music. And this hall is particularly special. I had the great privilege and honour to conduct the University Symphony Orchestra, the choir, the chamber choir, and also in my last year, the University Opera Group, where we put on full stage performances of Spontini's La Vestal, which was hugely generous of Robert and John, because they could have done it so much better than us. And I truly mean that. I was very lucky in my career, where I spent some 10 years in pop music in the 80s and then went into classical music through most of the 90s and worked for many years and very intimately with the likes of Luciano Pavarotti and Domingo and Ashkenazi and Riccardo Shai, Cecilia Bartoli and people like that. What I recognised, though, was my teachers, the likes of Robert and John, are such gifted musicians, and I can say that to you tonight. You are so spectacularly talented. And it's something that's perhaps forgotten, that in the great institutions such as this, that one's teachers are not purely academics, but they were great practicing musicians. But what you did for us, John and Robert, is that you allowed us to do it. You allowed us to get our hands on, which is quite extraordinary, because we did, we managed to do more music making with the university than yourselves. That was hugely generous of you. John, a great fan of Schumann, and I remember the Schumann-Rhenish Symphony so well that you conducted. And Robert, one of the great world experts on Brahms. It was a thrill when I was at EMI where we could commission Robert to write about Brahms. That was so special. And as I say, the environment that was created by our teachers here in Nottingham was something so special. And it gave me huge confidence, because I came to Nottingham as a very, very shy, insecure Welshman. I became secretary of the social secretary of the rugby team, and I became secretary of the music society. And I've spent the next 36 years of my life just basically playing around my hobbies. I told you something very special today, that my son's here. And Tom, it's such a thrill that you're with me tonight. We drove up today from Wales, and I remember that 36 years ago making the same journey with my father. He was a shift working steelworker in Port Talbot. He was a charger driver in the blast furnace. He'd just finished a shift that morning at 6 a.m. He'd clocked on the night before at 10 o'clock. He got home back to our little village, a mining village called Cefn Cribw, just outside Bridgend, at about 7:30. And we got in the car to make the journey up here. He dropped me off. He then got back in the car and drove back to Port Talbot to do the night shift that night. But he was so proud of myself, because I was the first generation of our family to go to university. He was also a huge, passionate music fan, and he was so desperately proud of me being here at Nottingham, and he came to many of my performances upstairs. He sadly passed away some years ago, but my thoughts are certainly with him tonight, and to do that with my son today, make that journey, was very special. I suppose you don't raise heroes, you raise sons, and if you treat them like sons, they'll become heroes, and Tom, you're my hero. What's so particularly special, and the university didn't know this, but Tom is a student here. And he goes into his third year in a couple of weeks' time. He's studying medicine. And when he said that he wanted to apply to Nottingham. His first choice. And Tom's a bright kid. He could have had the pick of universities. He was very logical about it, and he'd heard me talk so fondly about this wonderful, wonderful environment that is Nottingham, and a very vibrant city, and the times I had. But he was very focused on what course he wanted, and he picked the medical school here, the Queen's Medical School, because that is the course he wanted. He wanted a particular approach to medicine. My wife, Tom's mum, is a doctor. My mother was a nurse, and so they were very focused on medical education, and this was his choice. And Tom, I'm so proud of you. Also, he's a very active rugby player in the University Medics team. That's also very, very special. As I was walking through the university tonight, I was saying to David, my chairman, some of the stories of when I was here. I started recounting the stories and I realised that Tom was listening. I'm afraid, Vice-Chancellor, I did swim in the lake. I also, as was the wont in the 70s, I streaked around the campus. But reflecting back on my time here, it was quite extraordinary because it gave me confidence. It opened my eyes, it opened my ears. And as I say, we'll think about environment. It's about creating a space where people can develop and grow and fulfill their potential. That's at the heart of what we're doing with our rugby in Wales, but that's been at the heart of my career. Some people say, how on earth are you the Group Chief Executive of the Welsh Rugby Union, having done all these things in pop music and classical music and what have you? And the skills are infinitely transferable. It's all about identifying, nurturing and developing talent, putting teams of people around you, and all my teams have been far better than myself, and putting teams around you to make sure that that talent can flourish, be it in the Symphony Hall or be it on the field. And that's what Nottingham gave me, was that confidence to grow. And I reflected a lot on it over the years, because I left Nottingham as quite an angry young man and didn't come back for a while. But I reflected upon it and I realised what it had given me. I suppose life is half spent before you actually know what life is. And now in my sort of 55th year, I'm beginning to slowly understand what life is all about and what's so important. And as some of the profound words that have been already said this evening, I think living in the now is particularly important for me. And as I say, to live in the now with such fine friends and colleagues and teachers and people who I owe so much to, and to be able to say thank you now to the University of Nottingham is very, very special. And I would like to say thank you so much to the University of Nottingham. This is very, very special indeed. And I'd also like to congratulate the extraordinary talent that we've seen displayed this evening. I feel very humbled to be part of this particular celebration. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you.